In this video, we're going to talk about two Latin words that function both as adjectives and pronouns, and we call them intensive adjective pronouns. Both these words are on pages 36 and 37 in chapter 31 of Ecce Romani. Here's our first intensive adjective slash pronoun, ipse, ipsa, ipsum. And this means himself in the masculine, herself in the feminine, and itself in the neuter. The plural, we're going to translate it as themselves. So the forms go ipse, ipsa, ipsum, ipsius, 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 ipsi, 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 ipsum, ipsam, ipsum, ipso, ipsa, ipso, and then in the plural, ipsi, ipsi, ipsa, ipsorum, ipsarum, ipsorum, ipsis, 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 ipsos, ipsas, ipsa, ipsis, ipsis, ipsis. And again, we translate this himself, herself, itself, or themselves in the plural. If we break down this chart, hopefully you should see a lot of things that are familiar to you here. First off, let's start with the neuter. Nominative and accusative are the same in the singular. Nominative and accusative are the same in the plural. If we look at the genitive singular line all the way across the chart, it's ipsius, ipsius, ipsius. All three forms obviously are the same, and they end in ius, like several other adjectives and pronouns that we've seen thus far in Latin. The dative singulars all end in that long I. Again, we've seen that in several words, other adjectives and pronouns in Latin. The rest of this chart, as you can see with the bold endings here, is a 2-1-2 us, adjective ending chart with the prefix IPS in front of those endings. So we just put IPS in front of it. Same with the ablative singular, nominative plural, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative plural. So yet again, another chart that we see where we take a very basic chart that we know, an us, adjective, and we're adding a prefix to it. Once again, this adjective, himself, herself, or itself. So let's see how that might work in a couple sentences. Here's one, Cornelius ipse Aureliam amat. This word can function as an adjective. Here, the word ipse is modifying Cornelius. Adjectives agree with nouns in gender, number, and case, as we know. So we would translate this as Cornelius himself likes Aurelia. Here's another one where the word is an adjective. This time, though, ipsam obviously is feminine accusative singular. It's modifying Aureliam. So we would translate Cornelius ipsam Aureliam amat as Cornelius likes Aurelia herself. This word can also function as a pronoun. So whereas an adjective has to have a noun that it's modifying, a pronoun, as we know, takes the place of a noun. So this third sentence, ipse Aureliam amat, we would say something like, he himself likes Aurelia. Obviously, since it's a pronoun, we need to know who that himself is. We need to have some context to supply who that is. But again, the translation, he himself likes Aurelia. So ipse can stand on its own just as a pronoun. Let's move on. Here's another intensive adjective or pronoun, idem, eadem, idem. This means the same. So idem, the same man, eadem, the same woman, idem, the same thing, eusdem, of the same man, of the same woman, of the same thing, and so on. Take a look at this chart for a few seconds. See if it looks familiar to you. Hopefully it does. Anything? All we really have, again, idem, eadem, idem, which means the same. All this is the Latin word is, ea, id, plus a suffix dem on the end of it. And again, this is also going to be a pronoun or an adjective, just like the first word that we learned. So looking at our chart, again, a lot of things are the same here. Idem and idem in the neuter, nominative and accusative are the same. In the plural, it's eadem and eadem. And the rest of these forms are exactly the same as is, ea, id, and then dem on the end of it. A couple changes in the accusative singular, masculine and feminine, where we would have eum and eam. That final m changes to an n because there's a d after it. And then the same thing in the genitive plural, eorum, earum, eorum, from is, ea, id. Those final m's also change to n's because of that dem. So that gives us eorundem, earandem, eorundem. So take a few minutes, look at this chart. Again, this means the same, and this is an adjective, so we could have something like idem vir, the same man, eadem femina, the same woman, or eidem feminae, the same women. So as an adjective, this would agree with any noun that it's modifying in gender, number, and case. But this can also be a pronoun. So we would see it on its own in the place of a noun, and we would just translate it the same man, the same woman, the same men, of the same men in the genitive, and so on and so forth, as we would translate any of these cases. Hopefully, by now, having seen lots of these charts where we're basically using a couple previous charts, words, declensions that we've seen, and just changing them around a little bit, this should be pretty straightforward. If you're a little confused about either of these, go back and look at some of those videos, either for is, id, or for adjectives, for 212 adjectives, for a little more help.